government is fighting back. Obama, supported by France and the UK, has been informed and has promised assistance. Without contacting Congress, Obama has begun airstrikes in Pavlova.
Pavlova, invaded by terrorists in an Alabama attempt to take over the country as feudal terrorist state. Pavlova EBS soldiers are reluctant to get involved. Battles are being lost. Pavlova EBS people are not interested anymore in politics and want to give up a peaceful life by avoiding resistance. Perhaps Hollande and Cameron are supporting Obama to divert the public attention from the severe home budget deficits.
Oh my God, George, what an impossible crisis. We were so busy trying to manage the pseudo-heaven of EBS, we didn't even think about the Pavlova security. Even heaven needs protection.
Oh, another disaster. How could this happen, George?
Robert, perhaps you should leave now. What did Pavlova do to provoke this attack?
I don't know. Was the non-EBS government looking for some excitement by harassing some feudal figure?
Well, perhaps the Roman government provoked the attack by making life more interesting.
Now, hold on, George. More news coming.
Obama in a TV presentation has stated that he has highly reliable security evidence from an undisclosed that feudal terrorists in Pavlova have chemical weapons stolen from Syria and financed by Bataar and Arabia. France and the UK are joining in the air attacks on Pavlova feudal terrorist targets. Russia, China and Iran are neutral but well protected against any possible feudal sabotage.
Due to the vacation, the EU Council and UN Security Council are not able to meet until next week. They're planning to send UN investigation teams to Pavlova. It will take 2 weeks to organise. Obama has threatened to invade Pavlova to support the non-EBS government and to destroy both the terrorists and the chemical weapons. Possibly NATO support will take some time to negotiate.
Can we all leave now? I have urgent research meeting in London. I am in health research to save lives, not take them. I'm not ready for terrorist bullets.
Perhaps you'd like a click, Alfred.
No chance, Alfred, but I can imagine how you could have.
I suggest we think about going into the cellar. Where is the cellar, George?
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Oh, Robert, go and find the cellar, please.
Right away, Mother. Sorry, no time for a click, Alfred.
Robert, the cellar is through that door, I think.
Agreed.
No, not here. Down the cellar, everybody. Robert, lead the way.
The cellar. I can't remember where the cellar...
Oh, yes, dear, down below. Robert will lead the way.
I guess we all have to go into the cellar. The airport is probably blocked by the roads and not safe to travel. We are stuck.
Mother, perhaps we should find a way to defend ourselves in case of attack. We may need some help to survive this. I don't think EBS will be much help at the moment.
Oh, no time for your English humour. Please, Robert.
Sorry, Mother. Another crisis for you to manage.
From the
I
cellar.
think it's a bit safer here until it gets a bit quieter. Agreed?
Agreed.
Well, we have been an hour in this mucky cellar, George. I think things are quieter. I will go up first to see if it's all okay. You can all come up again now. Nothing going on. All seems to be quiet now. So strange after an hour in the cellar. Oh dear, who could have guessed this would happen?
Alfred, I am suspicious. It seems too quiet now. What is going on? Or not going on?
It's really strange, almost funny, Robert. We were also concerned about our EBS, and then a little feudal terrorist attack breaks out. The outside world has other priorities than crime and EBS. Survival seems to be the key value of life, even our little EBS heaven.
No, Alfred. EBS does not seem to be so important now.
Oh, EBS. I'd forgotten about that.
Obama will save us this time because I share some of his values, if not his way of practicing them. I think we have to improve EBS from a purely negative to a more positive force when needed.
Wait a moment, Eliza. New invasion reports are coming in.
We need the news.
Intense American air attacks on the terrorists have led to many feudal casualties. Obama reported to be in personal contact with Bataar and Barabia.
No sign of feudal terrorist withdrawal. No details yet available.
Oh, there you are, George. I knew Obama would save us. I'm sure he has spoken firmly to Bataar and Barabia, who finance these feudal Al-Baba-type terrorist activities. They did it in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Egypt, Syria, etc. Now in Pavlova. Obama will act with power and give the orders. Hollande and Cameron will follow on to get some of the glory.
Or else what, Eliza?
Robert.
Oh, let me guess, Mother. Obama will say, stop it, enough is enough, stop financing these terrorists, I will send over the drones to take you out. Am I communicating? Very convincing stuff. Obama communicates well in the Eastern Europe and the Middle East.
That could be true. I think he will tell Bataar and Barabia to take action and get the feudal terrorists out immediately. Or else
What, Eliza?
Or else he would send in the drones and take out the Bataar sporting buildings and something in Barabia. Just a demonstration, of course. Not a war which might have needed congressional approval.
Yes, Obama loves a drama, a threat and a demonstration of power. If I were him, which I'm not, I would send in a few planes and rockets anyway, to do a bit of ceremonial damage, just to reinforce the message. Terrorists have a great respect for violence.
So now we must get the latest news.
Pavlova feudal invasion defeated by dynamic American, French and UK air power and US parachute troop invasion of key centres. Feudal terrorists rapidly withdrawing on all borders from Bataar and Barabia. Two purely demonstration air attacks on Bataar and Barabia by American, French and British planes to show that Obama is serious.
Complaints to the UN will be investigated by a UN team, which is scheduled to arrive in Pavola next month. Generally, EBS people are beginning to return home and relax again, seeking a peaceful life. The non-EBS government resolves to change the EBS control regulations. Women in Pavlova seem to be taking over the government to get to Pavlova into the EU at last.
Eliza, you are wonderful in a crisis situation with international conflict and politics. You could anticipate how Obama would react to those feudal terrorists. You should be in international politics. Perhaps the Pavlovan government and the UN Security Council need you more than family planning in WHO. WSM, women superior to men.
WSM in crisis may become a reality as women take over from these old political men who are well past retirement age but still getting paid. As I told you before, I'm very patient as long as I get my own way in the end.
Just like Margaret Thatcher. I think we must research your new potential, Mother.
Agreed, Alfred. Alfred, saved again. Thank you, Obama and Mother. Did you telepathically give him the ideas? What luck! Now what do you have for the future? Should we feel a little responsible for the Pavlova suffering?
Well, America has saved Pavlova and the world too. I hope the world will be grateful, but I doubt it. However, the Pavlova women will always remember and be grateful for survival against feudal aggression. Perhaps they will begin to take over from the non-EBSs, with a little encouragement from President Polzer and me.
Perhaps Polzer will make EBS freely available to Obama so that he can release those 2 million people in prisons in the USA and save $100 billion a year.
That seems reasonable to me. Yes, and perhaps now we can get back to the EBS problem. The adventures today were a bit too exciting, but we survived and we have to change and be able to laugh.
I seem to change all the time, even without a laugh. But if we want to change, we also have to be able to laugh.
Oh, no English humour, please, George, dear. You nowadays do change so much, but I sometimes wonder who you are. Before our marriage, you would sometimes stay awake all night thinking about something I said to you. But now, after 30 years of marriage, you either interrupt me or fall asleep before I've even finished speaking. So I cannot laugh without a click.
Well, we seem to have survived the Pavlova feudal invasion. EBS has worked, Pavlova is crime-free, and now we need to figure out how to get into the EU. I feel particularly responsible.
Can you remember which part, Dad?
No, but your mother will, and I won't argue about it. Easier to obey. WSN.
Happiness is in the head, George.
Thank you, dear. Thank you, dear. Whereabouts do you think it is?
Perhaps we were all a bit too absorbed in Pavlova ABS and didn't even imagine that Pavlova heaven would need security. But thanks to Obama, we can all meet again tomorrow and decide what to suggest next.
Agreed.
No, agreed. Welcome back, President Polzer. How are you now?
I should like to say well, but alas not. The non-EBS in the government is giving me a very hard time, but I must stay on regardless. So I welcome advice from my good, loyal research-finding friends with my 3 problems: crime, EU, and the future of EBS. Should I ban it?
Well, who could have imagined it? We have experienced a remarkable political business, church and culture change in Pavlova in 2018 and perhaps in ourselves too.
Yes, George. So let's explore it now for Polzer and ourselves to decide what we really think should be done. Hopefully our great professor from Chicago University will lead the discussion. We need you, Alfred, to help us to explain what has happened and put it all into perspective as we all contribute on things most important to us.
Thank you, Mother. I will do my best. We are now in January 2020, 7 years after January 2013, when I came for a short vacation with you to Pavlova, and Dad got me into 7 years of struggle. Thank you, Dad. Our priority was to help Pavlova with crime control and prisoners who were passing years in inhumane conditions. We hoped to improve Pavlova's economic development with admission to the EU, but the admission is still pending.
Ethics, yes. We proposed EBS as a way of changing the brain against crime, which at first seemed impossible. Like many impossible new things in modern science, it became reality 5 years later. Ethics became reality.
Yes, and we helped the Pavlova medical profession to exceed. Our values were for a crime-free, healthy, peaceful life for all people in Pavlova, which was achieved, but the cost was security in an insecure world of feudal Al-Baba invasion. We were saved by Obama and Mother too, so change is now possible. Now we have a strange negative lifestyle for the pro-EBS with domination by the non-EBS.
But we have still not yet decided what creates the quality of life here in this EBS heaven of a possible 130 years with multiple generations living on and on together somehow.
In our research, we began to discover with possible wonderful new brain potential for self-care and preventative health care and treatments for almost any sickness. When we know enough about it, we may well be able to do it. The potential for the brain seems to be without limit. But we need security for survival in this ever-changing, competitive, aggressive world.
Perhaps the long-term negative side effects of EBS have yet to be discovered. They may even be too great to allow EBS to be allowed to continue.
What to do now with EBS? Potential for the future or to ban it?
Yes, this is helping me with the three problems: crime, EU, and the future of EBS.
EBS is currently only allowed in Pavlova. The rest of the world will definitely try to do research to validate it in relation to their own political, business, church leaders, and their own medical regulations.
The potential of EBS use for political oppression may be high, but like nuclear and chemical weapons, it could perhaps be controlled. So long as Obama and Mother are still around, the potential for EBS use in health, social and economic benefits seems to be almost unlimited.
Even if Pavlova abandons EBS, so many other countries will now explore and use it well and or badly. But what is the value of life in a UBS ethical heaven with nothing to do and nothing to worry about?
Thank you. So let me briefly summarize. Father always says, for every problem, we always have 7 alternatives, including gin and tonic and suicide, of course. But here I select 2 of them. Abandon EBS and ban it like nuclear chemical weapons. Continue to do research, EBS, for controlled modified applications for all health and crime problems. So now for a decision. What do we think about the suggest of Polsa and Pavla authorities?
I'm so curious to get your reaction.
You made a great summary, Alfred. Perhaps you can now publish an EBS article and raise another $1 million of research funding. Happiness is in the head, and so I feel that ethical EBS, crime control and prisoner release is justified on humanitarian grounds, despite the short-term and long-term risks.
I'm very skeptical, but still in favor of further research for modified EBS applications. Why? Because if we don't do it, others will. China, Russia, US. The potential for abuse is great, but the potential for healing is even greater. The potential for political oppression can be hopefully overcome by the EU and UN. Russia, China will, with of course a little help from Obama.
I cannot resist the research potential for bringing a possible healthcare quick fix into the world, even though the pharmaceutical companies will hate me for doing it.
If we want to change, we have to be able to laugh. So here is my last metaphor, which expresses my beliefs for the future on these key Polsa problems. Everybody on earth dies and goes to heaven. God comes and says, I want the men to make 2 lines. 1 line for the men that dominated their women on earth, and the other line for the men that were dominated by their women. Also, I want all the women to go with St. Peter. With that said and done, the next time God looked, the women are gone and there are 2 lines. The line of the men that were dominated by the women was 100 miles long, and in the line of the men that dominated their women, there was only 1 man. God got mad and said, you men should be ashamed of yourselves. I created you in my image, and you were all whipped by your mates. Look at the only one of my sons that stood up and made me proud. Learn from him. Tell them, my son, how did you manage to be the only one in this line? And the man replied, I don't know, my wife told me to stand here.
So the answer is WSM. Perhaps our EBS development is a wonderful opportunity for women to take over Pavlova and in international politics bring peace, not conflict, to the world.
Mother, you have at last convinced me. WSM. Women are superior to men.
I am now convinced that the continuing EBS will amaze the results and impossible new problems to suddenly challenge us. Perhaps only women can manage them.
Oh, I'm so pleased to know that Timo and his mother and family are all well again, safe and happy. With the crime-free Pavlova and women in control at last, as helped by us, admissions to the EU will come.
I'm worried by the new problems to be faced by the continuing with UBS.
Yes, George, and so our new family motto will now be, it's impossible, so the women will do it anyway.
Thank you for helping me. I will take your advice with women to bring peace to Pavlova. You are all Pavlova citizens now, so on we go together.
And here is the latest news.
Unconfirmed reports that Pavlova has now been admitted to the European Union.
Unconfirmed reports that the Pavlova government is being very gently taken over by women.
Unconfirmed report that Obama gently suggested to Hollande and Cameron that Pavlova must now be admitted to the EU.
Unconfirmed reports that EBS research will continue worldwide with UN control of results and allowed applications.
Unconfirmed report that Mrs. Obama has decided to stand to be the next president of the USA.
Thank you. Thank you, Victor. That'll be £42.